At a Billionaire's Gala, a black CEO was humiliated in front of everyone, but seconds later, her calm reaction destroyed their entire $1 billion empire. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to Black Inside 2.0, where real stories of power, pride, and heart come alive. The chandeliers above the Grand Hyatt ballroom shimmered like 1,000 stars. Beneath their glow, the city's most powerful elite clinked glasses and exchanged practiced smiles. The air smelled of old money, champagne, and quiet arrogance. Dr. Maya Allison, founder and CEO of Allison Global Tech, adjusted her red gown and exhaled softly. She wasn't nervous, she'd been in rooms like this before, but tonight was different. This wasn't just another contract signing. This was a partnership that could reshape the future of clean energy, and it was her company that made it possible. The Van Doren family, one of America's oldest billionaire dynasties, had invited her to celebrate their joint future. The newspapers had already called it the deal of the decade. Maya had earned every inch of this moment. What she didn't know was that the celebration would soon turn into a public test of her dignity. The whispering Gala, as she entered the ballroom, every head turned. Her crimson gown cut through the crowd like a flame in a sea of pale colors. People whispered, smiled politely, and then whispered again. Is that her? She's even younger than I expected. I heard she built her company from nothing. Maya smiled graciously, ignoring the undercurrent. She was used to it, the subtle disbelief that someone like her could lead a billion-dollar empire. The Van Dorens greeted her at the grand staircase. Richard Van Doren, the patriarch, shook her hand stiffly. Beside him, Eleanor Van Doren, his elegantly dressed wife in pearls and white silk, smiled in that kind of way that wasn't quite a smile. Dr. Allison, Eleanor said, her tone sugar-coated but cold, we're honored you could join our little family celebration. Maya replied warmly, the honor's mine, Mrs. Van Doren. Partnerships like ours don't just happen, they're built on trust. Eleanor's lips tightened slightly. Indeed, trust and legacy. Something in the way she said legacy made Maya's stomach tighten. But she ignored it and moved toward the crowd, chatting easily with investors and journalists. The toast. An hour later, the orchestra softened its music. Richard Van Doren tapped his glass for attention. Ladies and gentlemen, he announced, tonight we celebrate the merging of old tradition and new innovation. The Van Doren family welcomes Allison Global Tech into our future. Polite applause echoed. Cameras flashed. Maya lifted her champagne flute, smiling confidently. Eleanor then stepped forward with her own glass. And we must raise our glasses, she said sweetly to Dr. Allison, proof that ambition can take anyone anywhere, even from the most unlikely beginnings. The room went still. Her tone was kind, but her words carried a hidden blade. Maya froze for half a second. She saw the subtle glances, the smirks, the discomfort, the pity. But she didn't flinch. She lifted her chin and smiled. Thank you, Mrs. Van Doren, she replied. You're right, ambition can take anyone anywhere, especially when hard work replaces entitlement. A few guests gasped. Richard cleared his throat awkwardly. Eleanor's smile stiffened. The tension was palpable, but before anything could escalate, a waiter interrupted to announce dinner. The moment passed, or so everyone thought. The breaking point. After dinner, as guests mingled, Maya excused herself to take a call. When she returned, Eleanor was waiting by the marble staircase. Dr. Allison, she said sharply. A word. Maya nodded, curious. Eleanor leaned closer. I don't appreciate being corrected in my own home. With respect, Maya said calmly, I didn't correct you. I completed your thought. Eleanor's voice hardened. You may run a company, but don't mistake that for belonging in circles like this. Maya blinked slowly. Circles like this. Eleanor's eyes narrowed. People like you. But before she could finish, phones came up. Guests nearby noticed the exchange. A few started recording, thinking it might be juicy gossip. Maya crossed her arms, her voice quiet but firm. Mrs. Van Doren, I built Allison Global from the ground up. I didn't inherit it, I earned it. So yes, I belong here. Eleanor scoffed. You're only here because of our name. Maya tilted her head. Funny, I thought your family was here because of my technology. The crowd murmured. Eleanor, red-faced, tried to regain control. This partnership is over, she snapped. We don't need you or your attitude. Maya smiled gently. Actually, Mrs. Van Doren, it's already over. The calm before the collapse. Everyone froze. Maya reached into her clutch and pulled out her phone. I just sent a message to my board, she said evenly. Allison Global is withdrawing from all joint ventures with Van Doren Industries, effective immediately. Eleanor blinked, speechless. Richard rushed over. Now, hold on, Doctor. Allison, surely we can discuss. Discuss what? Maya asked, still composed. Whether respect is optional in business. Cameras clicked, phones recorded, the Van Doren reputation, carefully polished for decades, cracked in real time. Maya continued, her tone graceful but resolute. I believe this partnership represented progress. But progress doesn't come from old money, it comes from new thinking. And I can't stand beside people who measure worth by family name. She turned to leave, every eye followed her, every whisper trailed like an echo of power reclaimed. The next morning, the headlines exploded. Allison Global withdraws from $1 billion Van Doren deal, sources say, public disrespect, sparked split. Gala gone wrong, billionaire family faces backlash for humiliating CEO. On social media, clips of the confrontation went viral. Millions of viewers admired Maya's calm dignity and self-control. The phrase, "she handled it like a queen," trended for 3 days straight. Meanwhile, the Van Doren stock plummeted. Investors pulled out, public confidence evaporated, and whispers of outdated prejudice spread through the corporate world. Richard tried to reach Maya privately. She didn't answer. Instead, her assistant sent a short statement. Allison Global remains committed to partnerships built on mutual respect, equality, and shared vision. Integrity is priceless. That one line became a quote of the year. A year later, Maya stood at another gala, this one hosted in her own company's new skyscraper headquarters in New York. Her company had grown threefold since that night. She'd attracted global investors who respected not just her business, but her values. A journalist approached her for a live interview. Dr. Allison, that night at the Van Doren Gala, did you ever regret walking away from $1 billion deal? Maya smiled softly. Regret, she said, no, money rebuilds, reputation does too, but self-respect, once you trade that away, it's gone forever. The crowd applauded. As she looked out over the city skyline, Maya whispered to herself. They thought they were ending my deal, but that night, I began my legacy. Sometimes silence is power, sometimes grace is the loudest revenge. Dr. Maya Allison didn't lose a deal, she gained her freedom, her respect, and her story. If you believe dignity is worth more than dollars, hit subscribe and stay tuned for more powerful stories right here on Black Inside 2.0.